Welcome back, everybody, to an episode of Legion Lads. I am your host, JR, and today we got Jose and our very own World Championship. We
You
got
didn't have to do that.
Rob.
You didn't have to do that to me. You did not have to do that to me.
You let us down, Rob. Damn it, you let us
The
down.
die, the dice let us down. Okay, I had some
I
classic
gifted
Legion
you the
last night.
LVO winning dice, and you just squandered them.
Uh,
I'm just kidding, man.
it
I'm just
wasn't,
kidding.
it wasn't even my dice. It was my opponent's dice. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. I wanted
Yeah.
to cry after my first game of Worlds almost. So
Anyways, today, this episode, guys, we're going to talk about Worlds, specifically Rob's first. Rob is the one and only one that's been to Worlds out of our local area. So kudos to him. So definitely want to get your on boots on the ground take on everything. And
yeah,
even though you didn't win a World, man, we're still proud of you.
yeah. I mean, I
So
had I had an absolute blast.
good,
So
good. So yeah, man, let's walk us through it, man. Like,
all right, so I want to start by saying I'm no Tim from Snapcast, to be clear, everyone who's watched that episode, the legendary LVO episode. But I'm going to try to weave in what I was doing other than games because, this is here for fun as well. So for those that do not know, I won the San Francisco Golden State Games open like October, early November, somewhere around early last year, which means I got a free ticket to the event. So I just went for free. That made the decision easy. It's not just having an invite. It's, oh, you get to go for free, and I'm like,
mhm.
sold.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
I canceled class because I teach. So I canceled a class, and I just flew
Hold
out
on a
there.
minute. I'm gonna pause
He
you for
said,
a
F them
second.
kids.
Oh, yeah. He literally said, cancel this class, years of education don't matter, because it's Legion time, baby.
It's Legion time, baby.
And nobody complained. So
You get an A, you get an A, you get an A.
actually, I gave them an assignment they had to turn in. But it's kind of like a BS assignment just to give them credit for attendance. So hopefully none of them ever watch this. So a little behind the scenes for
I'm gonna
students
go
that
start advertising for them to start playing Legion, and I hope they watch this episode.
yeah. But yeah, so I got to leave on Tuesday of Worlds Week. Um, Thanks to the generous package offered by AMG. And I get my flight was set up by a Brit. So, trying to set that up was a pain because it was all in British time. But there's only like two flights out of Fresno anyways to LA. And so I left in the early one. And so I went to the airport early morning on Tuesday, and I was excited. I was ready to go. I start looking through my backpack, trying to make sure I have everything. I take some stuff out.
Make sure you didn't
Um,
forget any dice or Legion stuff.
yeah, well, I wanted my rig dice, the ones that
The
can't flush down
The
the
Rick
toilet.
dice.
yeah, the salted ones.
The salted ones. But no, so I do that, and I only mention that because when that happens, somebody like three seats down, and for those that do not know, we're in Fresno, California. The Fresno, California airport, despite having the name international in its title, is very, very small.
Yeah.
So the person two seats down from me says, "Oh, hey, what do you got there? Do you guys got like a card game, a dice game?" And I say, "No, it's for Star Wars Legion, and I'm going to this convention in Chicago." And he says, "Oh, cool, I'm going there too." And he introduces himself, and his name was Jordan. He's actually one of Roman's high school buddies, so I wish Roman was here. I will say Jordan had nothing but nice things to say about Roman the whole week.
Wait, so
So
Jordan plays Legion?
Jordan actually plays X-wing, and he actually
X-Wing.
also won Golden State Games, but for X-wing.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah,
Hell yeah. You both winners on the plane. That sounds like fun.
yeah. And we
Yeah,
both came back losers on different planes.
But you survived the planes.
Oh,
yeah.
I was scared. I told him too, and I was like, I don't know about this. Like, I rode on a Boeing 737 Max, and I was like, all right, guys, I hope I make it back. So
Did you take some sleeping pills, knock yourself out?
no, 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 no. So okay, so anyway, so I talk to him. We get on the plane, fly to LA. It's super fast. It's like an hour flight. I think
Yeah.
we spent more time. Like, it's like 20 minutes into the air, 10 minutes, when you're actually going straight, and then it's like 20, 30 minutes down. So it's like you're barely in the air.
Yeah.
Then I had a layover in LAX, which was I one of my favorite
Grimy.
beers is no, it's fine actually. I walk in and there's
What?
actually someone playing on the piano, which was
Oh,
nice.
nice.
She actually was playing well. She wasn't just like going ging ging ging, right?
Yeah.
Not like chopsticks or anything. She was like playing legit. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool.
You didn't
And then
sit next to her and pull any moves? You bust out the chopsticks?
No.
Oh,
You should have been like,
opportunity.
should be like, hey, I won Golden State. Not a big deal or anything, but
No,
kind of
no,
a big
no.
deal.
I'm kind of a big deal, yeah. Instead, what I did is I looked for somewhere to sit down for the next 2 hours, and I found a random bar in LAX, and I got Mango Cart, which is one of my go-to sort of beers just to drink. And I had the best Mango Cart I've ever had there. Like LAX, who would have thought? It was draft, which helps. But that's unimportant. So from there, finally after 2 hours later, get on the flight. It kind of sucks. I end up watching some dumb movies. Like I'd never seen Zoolander before.
how long was the flight?
So I watched Zoolander. And real quick, in which I learned apparently that John Wilkes Booth was a male model, and that's why he assassinated Lincoln. So that's never knew that. I should teach that in my classes, apparently.
He assassinated Lincoln because he is a model?
That's the whole plot of Zoolander. Is that
That's the
I'm sorry to
plot
spoil
of
Zoolander,
bro.
but apparently all these high profile.
I was so confused for a minute. I didn't know we were still talking about
Have
the
you
movie.
seen Zoolander?
Yeah, I've seen Zoolander, but for some reason I was blanking. He said Lincoln assassination, historical figure.
Well, yeah, because what am I'm watching this random movie and then I see that. So,
Rob pulled up the textbook. I don't think this is right.
well, I don't know. I should probably look it up still, but I'm like, he was definitely an actor. I don't know if he was a male model. But anyways, so from there, make it from the flight to Chicago. It was fine. It was a 4-hour flight, to answer your question from 3 minutes ago, by the way. So it wasn't too bad. I was lucky enough that all of my seats were on the aisles, which was perfect because I'm not a large guy, but I'm also like big enough that like if I'm not in an aisle seat, like I just don't have enough room. Like I'm just like scrunched. So basically make it there. Nothing pretty crazy happens, fortunately. Take a lift from the airport to the hotel. And then this is where the first kind of big thing happens. Is at the hotel, I meet Jordan, who's already there hanging out, and who else is also there but a couple other Legion players. And so at that point I get to meet I get to meet the Brits basically from That's No Moon. So
Nice.
Ollie is there. So, I did not know it at the time, but soon to be world champion Ollie is there. So is Andy Terrell. Cockles isn't there, but they're just playing unlimited. And there's like a group of people playing unlimited there. There's other people from like X-Wing and Armada. And I go to the bar there because there's a bar in the hotel. And I'm like, all right, what do you guys have on draft? And he says, nothing, it's all used up. And he says, but I do have these super cheap beers. So I got five of the shittiest beers I've had in my life.
But it was beer.
Questionably beer. So okay, so there so he gives us a spot. He gives me this bucket of beer. And the beer is called Fistmas. And it is a Christmas like ginger orange beer. It's obviously a few months out of date if you couldn't notice the fact that it's a Christmas beer in late March. So I don't think it was good in December either. Like I think it was still terrible then. So, but I drink it. I end up like giving some away so I don't have to drink all 5,
Oh God. You're making other people suffering the misery.
Hey, they got free beer. They got free beer. So it was just one of those things where
suffer with me. Here you go.
One of them didn't make it to day 1 because they're poisoned.
Well, this is actually day -2 from day 1 of Worlds, like assuming there's no day 0. But yeah, because this is still Tuesday. I also meet a couple of the Aussies, like Team Australia, and they were cool. And the hotel just had like a cool vibe every day I was in there. And I'm not going to talk about every morning and every evening where I talk to this person or that person, but I just wanted to set up this vibe of this hotel. Like this hotel was conquered by wargamers, like AMG wargamers, right? There are Armada players, there are X-Wing players, I didn't see an MCP or Shatterpoint player, but there was Star Wars.
Good.
Star Wars.
Good. Get it out of here.
No,
Get out of here.
Shatterpoint was huge. Their venue was big. So
Nah.
but they, but
We
I don't know.
didn't see them, Jose. They don't count.
they were avoiding us.
but it was all a bunch of these war gamers, and so every time I walked through the building, there was people playing a game. Like I'd walk through on a morning before Worlds, there'd be people playing X-Wing, or there'd be people doing this or that, and it was just kind of like a cool vibe. There was also a shuttle on every day, so like you got to leave for free, get to the venue, which is nice because otherwise you just have to walk there, and it's like, or drive, but like then
The
you have to
main
buy a
streets of
car. It's
Chicago.
this whole so that's actually worth saying, is it's not actually in Chicago, which I didn't realize until I got there. It's in Schaumburg. And the best way to kind of explain it is it's like in Visalia, right? It's not far. It's probably closer than Visalia is to Fresno. Well, not from Jose's Fresno. You basically live there. But oh, sorry to dox you. but you know, it's like close, right? Like
I get it. It's like the Dallas Cowboys aren't in Dallas; they're in Arlington.
right, exactly. So we're in Schaumburg, which is a suburb, right? And it's a suburb. So it kind of felt more like a Fresno than I'll talk about this later. But when I go to Chicago, it did not feel like Fresno.
The
Schaumburg kind
man
of felt like
changed my
Fresno.
name to dox me online. Thank you. Go for
He
it.
lives at 1234
No, shut up.
Place Street in Fresno, California. But yeah, so that was cool. The next day I get up, and Jordan and I, we go to the mall for a bit. Oh,
So the day that you got there Tuesday,
yeah,
was the convention open?
no.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, good question. Great question, actually. So basically they get you a day early, which is really nice because I would not have, like, if I were to fly myself in, I would get there Thursday. This is Tuesday, so I get 2 whole nights to get accumulated to this nice different time zone.
I was gonna say get your sleep schedule on point.
Yeah. So Wednesday, not really anything with the convention. It's open. Jay from 5th Trooper had asked for volunteers at noon. Jordan and I go, and I'd signed up to help. He never actually sent anybody any emails or anything to actually where and how and what to help with, but that's another thing. Or maybe he did and I missed it, but I didn't see it. So but Jordan and I, we went to the mall for a bit, we got lunch, you know, and then about 1-ish, I finally make it to the venue. And then I start setting up some tables. So basically the way it worked is it was all volunteer. And there was some interesting comments made by some folks on dinner on Sunday about that, and we'll get to that maybe. But you know, but this was volunteer labor setting up all these tables, which is cool because you know, I got to see the tables early.
Wait, those comments about the volunteer work?
We'll talk about that. Like I said, I'm gonna get there.
We'll talk about that. I'm saying that's what you mean.
Yeah, about
okay. No, I thought you meant comments on dinner. I'm like, dinner's great.
Yeah, well, so we'll get there, but the comment was volunteer labor for a paid event with paid workers. And
stupid.
Right.
No, you're good.
We'll get there, but so we're setting stuff up, and there's a ton of tables set up. Like I think we set up 180 or something. I don't quite know the specifics. I only personally set up 2 tables.
Let's talk about your tables. Okay,
we'll get there. We'll get there. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. So I set up 2 tables myself. My first table I was happy with. It was Ferrix, the city from Andor, whatever that's called, and I thought that one was pretty good. And then I had to set up this like lava planet, and that one was awful. For lack of a better word, like the terrain pieces weren't great. They actually had more or less blocking than it appears from afar, but still it was like super imbalanced, not great. And both tables I set were never used at Worlds because I don't think so, at least because they were so far back. Maybe they were. Who knows? I didn't see anybody playing on them.
When you made the tables, were you only allowed to use a box of terrain, or could you grab from other things?
So yes and no. So they had like the first table was like, here's this box, this is this table. The second, there was like a box of terrain of the same types, and then I just pulled different pieces out. Yeah. And so like there were 2 of these massive pieces, and then a bunch of the smoke clouds, which look like something else that I will not say because we're going to be on YouTube. And so I did that, and then that's the less interesting part. The part after that was kind of more interesting is that after that, I just was looking for something to do, and I found somebody that was just kind of messing with tables, like making them better in their opinion. And so I just kind of tagged along and just started watching them do stuff. And that was actually Timbo from 5th Trooper, and he's on Notorious Scoundrels, I think.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like 90% sure he's on there from time to time. But
Timbo's a good player. He's dope.
he was a really cool guy. So for a while, like him and I were doing stuff, and then we run into two other people that are doing something similar but different. But they were doing something interesting. These two people had a range marker, and like range rulers, and they were like checking all of the tables to make sure, can you actually play hostage exchange on this? What does intercept the transmissions look like on this table? Does it make sense? And so they were checking that, and those were two Germans. And one of them was Richard, the Rebel player, and one of them was Lucas, and I don't know his last name or anything or his tagline.
He used to be from Fifth Trooper. Lucas, shit,
Not
what's
that
his name?
Lucas.
No?
Not that Lucas.
'Cause I know
Different
he went to
Lucas.
Germany.
No, I don't think it's that Lucas.
Skinny guy?
No.
Okay.
Jose
He said
size
no.
guy.
Oh, he's making fat jokes now. You hear that, Lucas?
No.
Fat
I'm not,
shaming.
but no. Different Lucas. So,
Okay.
but the two of them were doing that, and then at that point, we just kind of merged the two groups together, and we just kind of started snaking around all the tables, just kind of making sure they made sense, because whew, you complain about these tables after we went through them. Before we went through these tables, there were some that were just sketchy, as in there is nothing. There are like 2, 4, 5 main pieces, and that's it. And so one of the big things that we did is we kind of went through, and I literally was carrying boxes of scatter terrain with me.
Yeah.
And just making sure that there was enough scatter on these tables. They were doing most of the actual placement of stuff, but we were just making sure, hey, there's actually enough on this table that it's more interesting and not just nothing. And so it was nice.
Hold on a minute.
To do that.
I'm gonna stop you right here.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. On
Yep.
Tuesday, you met Ollie, the future world championship. And then
Yeah.
on Wednesday, you're setting up tables. I feel like a conspiracy is here.
Well, he wasn't setting up tables, so they were doing
Now
other stuff.
you were setting up the tables, and you met Ollie.
So
what if
this,
you guys colluded together? I don't know.
You're thinking I did the USA down dirty like that? Like
I don't know. In the chat,
like,
you're just like,
he's a fun guy, but like
in the chat, you're just like, I'm rooting for the Brits. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I said, no.
I said I said a British flag to cover up your USA one in New Jersey. You're kicked out.
I said I'm rooting for Ollie because I've met him, and I had not met Luke Cook.
Yeah,
your USA
Ollie,
credit
right?
out the
and
window,
you're
bro.
The tables. I don't know.
But we're talking like way like this is
No,
yeah, but that's a good conspiracy though. I like it. If I actually am the reason he won Worlds, then I will take all the credit.
How funny would that be if there was a table that he like played on each of your tables leading up to the finals?
Well, he definitely like the screen tables. The judges set up. So like,
how many times was he on stream?
I only know the final. Actually, he might have only been on it once. I don't know. I haven't seen any of the stream games yet, other than that the final game. Yeah. But anyway, so and again, it wasn't just me. There was other people as well, right? So we kind of snaked through, checked a bunch of the tables, made sure there was enough terrain that was logical. Because again, these are all set up by volunteers, and we're volunteers as well. So like, we're just trying to make them all work. And we don't know what tables we're going to be on. We don't know what table side we're going to have. So we're just, again, doing this. And what I took out of it is like some table design philosophy stuff. Like they set up a lot of like all the tables were set up differently. They felt different from each other because we didn't set up the tables, mind you. But they did have a couple of like checklist things that were like super interesting. Like, are there any lanes that are just like being no cover at all? Right? Are there, if you're playing disarray, is there no cover left to right on the map? Stuff like that. And it was just interesting to get those kind of tidbits, learn that kind of stuff. And so we did that.
Two things.
Yeah.
I would love for us, like for our local scene, to come up with some form of document of how to set up a table. I think that'd be amazing.
I mean, I would love if it was like an official document and not just us.
Well, I don't think AMG is going to. Right? I
No.
think AMG's whatever. Two is, in your opinion, were there more open or more heavy line of sight blockers?
So this is actually kind of an interesting question because a lot of the maps felt like they were very open, But when you actually play on them, it was like, oh, there's a lot more LOS blocking than I thought there was. And there was a lot, like, you couldn't hide armies very well, but you could definitely hide singles pretty well on a lot of these maps. And I would know I had a very important single that could not be seen by the enemy the entire tournament because I had Palpatine, right? So there was no table where I was playing at where I'm like, I have nowhere to hide Palpatine. You know what I mean? Like, there were never any of those tables, which is great. But it also wasn't like a city, right? Where it's like you could, like, it's all LOS blocking. I think particularly the Mando tables, which I have pictures, but we're not gonna have time to just draw all the pictures of the tables on the podcast. But like the Mando tables were particularly deceiving because it looks like there's no LOS blocking, but then you play the map, it's like, okay, there's actually a lot more than it looks like. So
what I'm imagining is when you say there wasn't no line of sight blocking, there's like these little like broken down buildings that look like it wouldn't cover a silhouette, but when you get to play it, it covers the silhouette.
So what I'm talking about is it's not even like height, it's like the width. It's like trying to hide behind something, and it's not that it's not about being able to fit a silhouette behind it. It's about the angles as well, right? It's not just safe from a straight shot, it's safe from a shot from this thing. From this thing. You see what I'm saying? Like that's what I mean by good LOS blocking.
I actually agree with that. Like an angle where you're open and an angle where you're blocked.
Well, so what I'm saying is there weren't like you could hide from basically all the angles that it might come into play for most of these LOS blockers that I'm talking about. Okay. But there was also a lot of like what you're saying, where it's like, well, you have like there are some tables. It's like, well, you have really good LOS from this direction, but if they're coming at you from this way, you have none, right?
Yeah.
So I think that for the most part, it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be for one. And I actually think it wasn't that bad. I think
was it better than the LVO tables?
Yes.
I was going to ask that.
It significantly better. And I don't know if that's because the terrain they used was different, though there was a lot of just more building type stuff they used. But it was also because, again, and it's not because of us. I'm not saying that, but whenever the Germans and Timbo and I went to one of these tables, we kind of made sure there was fair LOS blocking for everyone. So it was, there's a building here on this side, and this guy has LOS, and this guy doesn't. It's like, all right, well, let's move some stuff around. Or whoever set this table up made some massive clusterfuck in the middle and then nothing on the sides. Well, let's fix this. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, there was a conscious effort made to not do that. And I think that maybe with the zero evidence about what was going on at LVO, maybe that did not happen, right? Like, I know the Germans weren't there, so I know that they didn't.
No, so that's the thing. So chiming in, you have to take in consideration the people that are setting up tables. Not saying that people at LVO were bad, but you're talking about world's event where you have the top of the top of the top of the top players playing, players traveling overseas to come in this event. So I would assume that when you got a group of top line players, they have more of a grasp on what tables should be and look like and function versus just somebody at a regular monthly event, or you know what I mean? And it's the player pool matters because those guys are there for a reason.
Right. And that's probably part of it. The other part of it is just the sheer amount of terrain that was available for Worlds was utterly insane. There were extra boxes left over after we were done, and it was just like, we're talking like 100 at least of those Costco crates that you guys use for your terrain, just filled with terrain for this, right? Maybe that's an exaggeration. Maybe it was more like 50, but still there was a ton of just terrain. And so
my crates are from Home Depot, sir.
Well, it's the same crate as the ones from Costco. So
I know. I probably get charged more.
Yeah, you do. But to me, it's like there was just a lot of terrain to go around. And again, when there is a conscious effort made to not just make the tables, but for somebody who didn't make the tables to go through and kind of systematically check the tables, I think that's maybe something LVO didn't do. Because again, nobody told us to do that. We probably shouldn't have been allowed to do that, but we did it anyways. And I would argue, in a completely biased manner, it probably made the play experience better for a lot of players because somebody took the care to do that.
Did any
And
of the tables have the issue you ran into with the LVO where it was like messed up in the middle?
oh, I thank you because I really wanted to talk about it. So they were genius. So not all the tables are perfect. There were still some incongruities, but for the most part, whereas LVO had some tables that were using like 2 planks and just like throwing them under the table. And so like one plank might be here and one might here. What they were
Full wood.
using is, yeah, like actual wood planks. What they were using is they were using, first off, the tables they were using were just better. Like the actual physical tables.
Well,
Right.
the
So that's
tables
step one.
provided are by the venue, not the
Correct.
guy. Yeah.
So Schaumburg Convention Center at the Renaissance has better tables than the Rio in Las Vegas. Who would have thought the Rio has bad tables, right? It's not the highest end casino there.
Mhm.
But
We
but
could have
not
been
only
at Circus Circus.
but but not only that, but what they were using to cover the tables was interesting. It was a oh, okay, it's like poster. It was literally like massive sheets of poster board. And so these massive sheets were just big enough to cover a 6x3. And so that made a huge difference because none of the tables were nearly as bad as any of the ones I had at LVO that were bad, right? Like I had good tables at LVO, but the tables that were bad are just like, oh my God. It's like my first game at LVO. I was tilted just based off that. It's like you're trying to stand and here's the floor and here's the other floor. It's like, oh, I'm gonna place a mini here, fall. Place a mini here, fall, fall, fall. And there was not nearly as much of that at Adepticon as at LVO. So, and again, it's not LVO that messed up. It's not Jordan that ran LVO that messed up. It's just the Rio that kind of put him in a bad spot and he did the best he could. And at Adepticon, I don't know if it was AMG who made sure they had these really nice poster boards. I don't know if it was who did that, but it worked really well. And so I was really happy with that. But yeah, so set all that stuff up. Where were we? What is that? Okay, so then after that, I met back up with Jordan. The Brits went to medieval times, um, and they had a blast. They went with some other folks as well. I was gonna go, but then I decided to hang out with Jordan some more because I just met him, and he had some friends coming in that were flying in for dinner. Basically, they were going to the convention, but they were flying in at dinner time. So we went to another bar. We had food, and I met 2 other folks, Carson and not Carson, Spencer and Cavan. And so I met those 2. They both play actually Infinity, which is a war game I had never heard of, which I saw them play a little, has some dope tables. Like there's you think like those tables are so dense, it's beautiful.
No, Infinity's dope.
Yeah, I was like, oh, do I gotta get in? Am I gonna get into this game? I don't know. So I met those 2. We had dinner, go back to the hotel, hang out a bit more at the hotel. And then the next day, Thursday, this is the Swiss now. And so I'm going to kind of briefly go
Wait,
through them. Yep.
so convention was open on Wednesday. You didn't check it
Not,
out? What?
not, it wasn't really open on Wednesday. Like Wednesday was a setup day. And so the vendor hall was not open on Wednesday.
Okay.
We did check out, and I guess I should have mentioned this. We did check out the vendors that were outside. But there was nothing. So well, I'll talk about this when I talk about Thursday, when I talk about walking through the vendor halls. I was basically kind of picky, and I'm like, I need something that is not just cool and awesome, but worth me messing with my stuff to take home. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't really see anything on Wednesday that was like, oh, I need this. And so, but they had, yeah, I'll talk about vendors after I talk about my games probably for tomorrow. That sound good? Because I want to talk about the vendor hall itself, not just the vendors. You know what I mean?
All I would wanted to know is like, this is like a board game convention, right? Did you get to check out all the board games?
So this is not a board game convention. This is a miniature war game convention, which is, I was slightly disappointed about that. I kind of knew it, but like there was only one vendor that sold board games there, and I bought 2 of them from them. So
Wow, I thought it was a big board game convention.
no, it's all mini war. So there is an area where you can rent out board games to play, but that's in like every convention, right? That's not like super unique. And there were no board game companies trying to sell you board games. There were a ton of companies trying to sell you on their mini game though. And so there was like a really cool one on Thursday called Bushido that I almost wanted to get into, which is all about like samurai fighting, and it just like crosses timelines. It's crazy cool shit. Like Hero Escape is coming back. Apparently, it was like a really big thing a while back, and now it's back. And there's just a ton of these different war games and like war game stuff. I almost bought a what's it called? Dry brush, not dry. What's the fancy spray paint you use called, Jose? The spray paint gun?
An airbrush?
Airbrush, thank you. I almost brought an airbrush.
I was like, I have a dry brush right here.
No, not a dry brush. No, an airbrush. But I ended up not, just because I was like, okay, this is really cool. I might want to use it, but like I want to know more about airbrushes before I just buy one. You know what I mean? Like,
so quick note on the airbrush. Start on a cheap Amazon airbrush. It's $100 for the compressor and the airbrush. It's a knockoff name brand airbrush.
okay.
This way, if you fuck it up, you fuck that up. Secondly, when you actually invest into an airbrush, you're gonna want to go with Iwata or you want to go with Badger.
Okay. I think it was an Iwata that they had. It was a really nice airbrush.
An Eclipse, probably.
Okay, so I don't know, but it was a really nice.
Did it have a blue box?
I don't remember.
Okay, sorry.
I'm
an airbrush freak. Yeah.
No, I know you are. I know you. I'm sorry. See, that's the thing is, it's like that's why I asked you guys. Hey, is there anything you want me to look for? But yeah. So Thursday is our first day of actual games, and I end up going 2-2, and I don't know how in depth I'm gonna go with all of these games, but
I would say pick the games where you were frustrated and ones that you felt like the lessons you learned. I think are the
Okay.
more important games.
yeah.
The ones
So
where you did really well, they're worth noting, but I mean, you know how to play the game.
JR just doesn't want 10
Yeah.
hours of battle reps.
Yeah, no, I know. I don't need it. So I'll just go through all the games, some fast, some slow. So the very first game I play on Swiss is against somebody playing shore. So he's playing Empire. They have shores, mortars, they have pikes, they have veers, and I'm playing on a Mando map. And so I played on a lot of Mando maps.
Pikes and Empire, that's weird.
But the Mando maps are really cool. I want to get a full set of Mana Train, and then I played on it 5 times or whatever over Worlds. I'm like, I'm kind of good now. I still want to buy it. Like, I think nobody has Mana Train locally, and it looks.
What do you mean when you say
Mana or Mantic?
Mando, as in Mandalorian, as in Mandalore. So when I say a Mando table, it looks like in the Mandalorian when he goes to the like last Mandalore. So
Gotcha.
it's those tables. They look sick. Some of the train pieces are massive. Like they all had like a centerpiece that was huge. But other than that, like they look good. There's actually more, like it looks like there's no LOS, but there actually is. And they're just fun to play on because you're like on Mandalore. And so this very first game comes down to the fact that we're playing, let's see, we played Limb Viz, Battle Lines, and Key Positions. And this is what the guy does. Army here, I'm in the middle, I win. Well, I spend the first part of the game pushing my Dark Troopers to one side of the board. He sort of kites back on the right side, and the right side was like pikes and a shore mortar, right? I just delete half of his army. His other half of the army has to start pushing towards the center KP, and when they do, they just get mowed down. So there's nothing really that crazy that I learned from that game. But yeah, it was a good game. It was fun. But nothing crazy that I learned there. The second game, oh god. The second game is where I'm like, I want to say, I need to say this in the nicest way possible. Fresno players need to actually start playing meta lists, so I know what to do against them.
What was the list?
So I was playing against Andy Terrell from That's No Moon, and he was playing Experimental Droids with a tank, which is to me a very, very good version of that list.
9-axe.
Yeah, 9-axe tank, only 2 BXs, but that's all you need. And it's just like, it's a hard list to beat. And we both play the game. Okay, so I should probably mention this. So we are playing Major Offensive, Intercept the Transmissions, and Warrior. And so this game kind of comes down to the fact that by turn 6, I haven't killed enough of his stuff to cover the center. And he, by turn 6, has been able to kill quite a lot of my stuff.
Did you kill the darks?
No, but he does kill Palpatine because so let me kind of go through it kind of slowly. So the first thing is I'm looking at my notes because I don't remember things. So the first thing I do is I use my storms to cover sort of my side. So I guess I should probably start with the map because this terrain was fucking awful. So the terrain was I have this massive LOS blocker on my side of the board, like that's all the way across. It's on a Geonosians looking map, so like you can go up and you can climb it and you like have a good overview. And then I have another one on the right side. So my major offensive. So if here's my box, right? So right here, a big LOS blocker that I could walk behind to see this area, and his intercept is over here. And then here's my box, and above the box is this massive LOS blocker here too that you can again run around. And so I say I'm gonna use my storms to cover my intercepts, my darks to cover the middle, and Palpatine is just gonna be in range to do stuff, right? Um, he's kind of able to like threaten shots on Palpatine from the middle. So I at the very beginning of the game, so I have to like hide him. Like I can't like here's the rock that I can hide that has good LOS, and here's the end of my deployment, right? So Palpatine starts out in the open, so I kind of hide him behind this rock to start. And what he does is he puts a snail right here in the middle in his deployment, just facing this barrel down to my deployment. And he puts one BX that are going to basically, again, here's my deployment. They go this way. So they scout out of their deployment to here, and they just kind of hide around this mountain so that they can kind of push into my intercept point, like right here by turn 4 and 6. Basically threatening it, right? Meanwhile, his other BXs, here's his side, right? They scout out this way so they get a shot left, right underneath by like turn 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And so basically for the first couple of turns, my only good target is the tank because his B2s are placed behind some other LOS blocking that is like you have his tank is here, and then he has an LOS blocker right here that has like a hole this large that you could walk through, but still enough to completely hide LOS behind these squads. So for the first like it's like 3 turns, my only target is the snail tank for my Dark Troopers. If you've never fought against a snail tank, it's a very shitty target, especially if you don't have impact. And I'm trying to stay out of range 2 for a couple reasons. Number one, it has ion. So I like that basically, if it gets an ion shot off, I'm stuck in range 2. And the other is because he has B2s just waiting. They're basically at range 4 of me. And if I move too close, they're gonna start pushing in with the range 3, range 2 shots. And I'm like, I can't afford that. The thing about double Dark Troopers is like everyone's like, oh, they're so tanky. Oh, you can't kill them. Oh, but it's like, no, they are squishy as hell. Every wound taken by a Dark Trooper is like 20 points you've just lost on your list. Slight exaggeration. It's actually 8 points lost every wound because they're 16 points each. No, it's 32 points for 1 minute. So yeah, it's 16 points lost for every wound, right? That's just insane. So I'm trying to kite. But when you shoot at a snail tank, if you don't shoot at it before it gets dodges on it, it's hard to get through. So I'm shooting 8 black dice, critical 1 for the most part. I get 1 through, that gets dodged. I get 2 through, he's only rolling 1 dice. So it takes me legitimately 3 turns to kill this snail tank. And like in retrospect, what I should have done probably is start pushing 1 Dark Trooper away from the tank to kill the BXs earlier. But I don't know.
What if you would have? I understand the reason you're not getting a range 2, but wouldn't that be better to get those impact shots?
So eventually I do go for the impact shots on the tank, like late turn 3. But what happens then is what I was afraid of that was going to happen does start happening. So that's the B2 start pushing in. Because the other thing is while the darks were kind of at range 3, he wasn't moving anything into range of the darks at all. Because he knew that they would get shot at because they were a better target. So I kind of was able to, for those first couple rounds, just kind of hold the center without having to push it too hard. You know what I mean? And so we were kind of just basically, we were both just projecting power and kiting each other out, basically. And I was taking the shitty shots I have. He was getting what shots he could. He took a couple shots into the storms, and I was okay with that because it's not Darkstein. In the long term, that's probably like there were moves I could have made with my storms to keep them protected more that I didn't do. that would probably have changed the game in my favor and made me win.
Yeah.
Like I let him kill my storms. Like I knew what I was doing, and my assumption was that it wouldn't end up mattering because I could do stuff. Meanwhile, and this is an important meanwhile, on the left side of the map, by turn 3, his BXs were basically within a move shoot of my Palpatine. So I have to basically, in order to counter that, I turn 3 and now you will die on them, which is super early. I'm able to kill them, but now Palpatine's kind of stuck in a not great spot. Turn 4, he's still stuck there. Turn 5, well, I just keep shooting stuff over on the right side with the darks. His BXs start pushing, they're killing storms and not my darks, and I'm happy. Turn 5, I think it's 5. I'm just kind of playing through, and finally, and what I should have done is gone with Palpatine immediately and hide. Right? Go with Palpatine, hide, I'm good. Instead, I try to go with other stuff first to kind of bait out his important stuff and then do Palpatine later for a shot on the darks, right? What he does, though, is he pushes with B2 or B1s, and with a move shoot, they get 2 natty crits in, and Palpatine rolls no saves. And so he's now dead off of fucking B2s. So, or B1s.
Underestimation everyone makes with B1 is amazing to me.
And I can't complain. I'm like, when he did that, I'm like, and when I died, I'm like, that was 100% on me. Like, because if Palpatine had moved, he could have been completely safe from those B1s. Oh, well. Like, and at that point, it was just kind of like, I just kind of crumbled. I had killed his nail tank, but now the B2s were starting to contest the middle more. And more importantly, I didn't kill his BXs on the side. So I'm pretty sure we ended it like he ends up scoring. Like, I think he might even score like 3-0, but I think it was like 2-1, and then he wins off kill points because he killed Palpatine and 3 storms, and I killed not that much. So because I killed like a BX squad and a snail tank, which he won by 21 kill points.
Damn.
So it was a very close game. We both said I don't want to ever play this game against you again, but I had a lot of fun. And that was probably my most interesting game of the entire weekend.
What was the lesson?
Do the darks have a comm slot?
No.
I was gonna say, going into Worlds, when everybody jumped on EXD, put a comms jammer on them.
That's the Ollie style.
Yeah,
yeah. So
perfect.
it was a fun game. It was just Swiss, and I'm like, all right. What I took away from it is just keep Palpatine safer, and that basically EXD it's not that they have so many wounds, it's that they have a lot of, if they're not focusing the darks, they can kind of whittle everything down pretty quickly, basically.
Yeah.
My next games, let's see. So that was game 2. So now I'm 1-1, and I'm like, all right, well, my overall goal for the weekend was like to win a game at Worlds, right? Like, I did better than that. I probably could have gone 3-1 at Worlds if I hadn't, instead of 2-2. We'll talk about that. But my third game now. Let's see. I should be looking at these notes more. Oh yeah, so I lost 2-1 basically on that last turn, and then he gets to points. Oh, so game 3 is against a Nathan Gribble. Does anybody know who that is?
I vaguely remember.
I think you more than vaguely remember who Nathan Gribble is.
Oh, he whipped your ass, Jared.
He was the one that beat me at LVO.
He's the reason that Obi-Wan doesn't need protector for free, right?
He's the LVO champ. That's right.
Yeah. So
okay, so yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested to think what you thought.
So okay, so I'm gonna give you initial thoughts, and then we'll talk about the game. So I see an Obi-Wan Cody list, and I'm like, oh, it's some guy copying the LVO guy.
That was your first mistake.
And well, because at this point, we're both 1-1. And I'm assuming the LVO winner is like 2-0, right? And so we go through, we do our battle cards, and our battle cards for this game are KP, advanced positions, and clear. And he starts placing
your battle deck or his battle deck?
I think it was his, because I one side I was scared. In retrospect, we should have played my deck. But at the moment, when I looked at the map, I'm like, if I don't get this one side, I don't have anywhere to hide Palpatine. And then I started playing the game, and I'm like, oh, I would have had all this fucking space side Palpatine. Like, spots that I didn't think had cover. So on a kind of side tangent, I think in the future what I need to do is just like actually go to
Take your
both
deck?
sides. Well, no. It's just like stand and then just like crouch on both sides of the table and actually kind of look and see, oh, this is what the LOS looks like, right? But we were playing his deck. And so he begins placing the most hyper aggressive placement I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, what is this guy doing? I'm just gonna blow this guy fucking up. I'm just gonna blow this guy up, right? I'm like, all right, well, this is gonna be a quick game. And it does not go that way. I start doing shots at him, and then I start seeing all the defensive tech on. I'm like, oh fuck, I can't get any wounds through. Like it's literally like I'm not shooting a little amount of dice. Like with Ewoks, it's like, oh, like you try to run into range of with Ewoks, like, oh, that's scary, right? But I'm like, I have a lot of dice. I've got armor. I'm like, I can shoot through anything. I could not shoot through that. I focused down one of his core. In retrospect, probably should have shot at Cody more. Obi takes a lot of wounds. Cody does some shots that I do a very good job for the first couple rounds avoiding his potential fire supports. So again, Cody doesn't get to do a lot for most of the first couple rounds. But we get to like round 3 and it's like I am still not shot through it much. And so now I'm like, all right, I have to start kind of doing stuff to kind of start having to do stuff. And I move into a potential Cody fire support with an RPS and I get blown up. And it's just, and from there, it's over, right? Like one good fire support and your day is ruined with my list.
He went into your darks with that.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
you don't
amazing.
have to, it doesn't actually take a lot. Again, it doesn't actually take a lot to kill dark. Like people are scared of dark troopers way more than they should be.
No,
Like,
people are scared of dark troopers when they don't have the tech to deal with dark troopers. When you have the tech to deal with dark troopers, you're not scared.
right. But I think even if you don't have the tech to deal with them, it's like, we can talk about this more later, but after playing them, I think the version I was playing, which is just pew pew, is the wrong version. Because there were people playing double darks with other commanders, and I'm like, oh, that's genius. Like there was a Krennic double dark player, and he was winning games off suppression round 6.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting, right? Because he's got, and I'm like, and he won all his games like that. I'm pretty sure it was like 5 rounds of nothing, and then boom, and it's just like, okay, well, that's not how I wanted to play, but it's good. So yeah, he just messes me up and kills me, just absolutely wipes the table with me. And so now I'm 1-2, and so it was a fun game. He's a nice guy. It was fun to play against. And it just was like I had a building that was like not big enough to hide behind, and I had to push because it's AP. And between Obi-Wan and just normal clone bullshit, I just don't do enough wounds, which I think is my biggest takeaway right now, is that I don't, other than EXD, I don't know of lists that have enough killing power to kill them. I guess the Ollie list does, because you have 3 Black Suns and swoops. By the way, swoops are really good against clones because Overrun ignores all defensive tech. So again, swoops are good. But anyway, so
can't you can't use a dodge?
No,
it's not a ranged attack or a melee attack. Overrun cannot be stopped by anything, not even melee. It's really good.
Nope.
Nothing.
They bypass ranged, or they bypass defensive tech. Yeah,
that's good to know.
Yeah, right. Swoops are good. But anyways, so what was I doing? My fourth game.
Fluttercraft terrible.
Yeah, my 4th game is against Johnny Wombat, and he is an Aussie. He was dressed up in a Chewbacca, not like full like Cosmo, but he had like a Chewbacca jacket on. And he actually lived in Fresno for a bit. So we talked a little about Fresno, and he was playing full Wookiees.
Yeah.
Wookiee Chieftain Wookiees. That's like a shit ton of dice on the table. And I kind of felt bad for him because I just blew him out of the water. We do battle lines hostage limb viz. And he doesn't, I don't think he realized just the sheer firepower I had. So he just like starts pushing right in. He had a lot of shooty Wookiees. So if he had stayed back at range 3 and just basically whittled me down, he could have, I think he had a really good shot of doing well because that's Pierce and critical and impact in those bowcasters. So like he would have been able to just whittle me down, but instead he just tries pushing straight in to get the melee game in because that's what Wookiees want to do. And it's Lim Viz, and I get Lim Viz range 2 shots on round 1 because he's pushing in so aggressively. And his stuff just collapses because it's Wookiees. If I get shots in, they're going to die, right? And because it's blast, he's losing that cover, and it's an additional 2 dice, and so he basically crumbled, unfortunately. And so I ended the day 2-2. I went to bed as soon as I had finished my games that night. Like literally, I was just exhausted, and I'm like, I have to sleep for tomorrow. Oh, except I didn't do that.
What?
Wait a minute.
Okay, hold on a minute. Can we trust your story? Like,
no, so that's right. No, okay. So actually, what I actually did that night is I was thinking I was going to do that, and then I was being very personable at World. So I'm like, I don't want to just go to bed right now. I want to hang out. So I waited around as long as possible until I figured out where other people were going to dinner, and then I went to dinner with them at Buffalo Wild Wings. A true Chicago staple, by the way, Buffalo Wild Wings. So I ended up going to B-Dubs with the Aussies and with Michael and no, was he there that night or was he just there later? Yeah, Michael and Josh, both from California, and Josh of whom was the head TO of Worlds, and Michael, who was just judging when he wasn't playing, basically. He was like a part-time, non-paid judge position kind of thing. And so that was fun because I started asking them questions about like how did they become a judge? You know, what was their craziest rules question they got asked on their judge? Apparently, they have to take like a judge test. And so I said, "Oh, what was your craziest question?" and all this stuff because I was trying to make conversation.
Yeah.
Shout out by the way to Timbo for driving me to B-Dubs that night. Just in his car that he drove from Canada like the day before or whatever.
You're wild.
No, just because again, I'm
Still had the snow chains on.
Oh, dude, his car looked like it went through the ringer. Like, but no, I'm just gonna hang out with as many people as I can because I'm here at Worlds, right? So I'm like trying to like weasel my way into all these little.
You were in good company. I saw a lot of your photos. You were in with good company.
I had an absolute
in terms of known players.
Yeah, and like the Aussies were hilarious at B-Dubs because I've never seen people order that much food at B-Dubs before. Like they got like every appetizer. It was a Thursday night, which if you've never been is buy one get one free on boneless wings.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
So as a vegetarian, I definitely did not partake, but everyone else
still
did.
Doing that? I don't know about you.
We'll just say wink and move on with that. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Just everyone was just chilling, talking. It was just having a great time, right? We talked a little Legion. The Brits eventually showed up, but there was no room at our table. Like they were just absolutely packed, and so they got their own table somewhere else, and they did their own thing. But after that, there was somebody, I forget who, but got a ride back to the hotel and then crashed. So that was fun. Then, Friday, Worlds. And, tensions are high. My first game, I'm like, I got to do this. I'm going to do this for Fresno. We're going to win. And there's this meme that I need to quote. Thomas had never seen such bullshit before. And that's my excuse. It's just pure bullshit is why I lost round 1 of it. So I am playing against another clone list. And apparently I don't play into clones at all. So like as of now, like list is dead. Palpatine, Dark Troopers dead. Like you can't beat clones. You can beat EXD if you really, really play the objective game well, but if you can't beat those two, like you're dead. Competitively, that is. Like it's still a fun list. It can still beat up on people, but that doesn't mean it's good. But anyway, so let's talk about that game. So I am playing on one of the worst maps I played on at Worlds. It had this terrain piece that's this massive, like I think it was like this massive dome.
You were on quick pause. weren't you just a segment a while ago saying how you guys mastered all these tables and they were all great, and
So
now they're shitty because
actually,
you
so,
lost?
no. So two things. Number one, I said we did what we can with some of these tables.
Okay.
So one of the terrain pieces they had was half. It was like it's a dome. It's a massive dome, and it's half of this. Like it's supposed to be like an engine, like that's like
Yeah.
on the ground, right? And there's that, and there's like other small terrain pieces I can hide behind on my side. And again, the map isn't the reason I lost, and that's not what I'm saying that I lost. But I just wanted to start off with that because it's going
I'm
to come
just
back.
teasing you, bro.
No, it's just going to come back later. We do his deck because again, I'm like on that side of the table, there's nowhere for me to hide. In retrospect, it would have been worse, but playing his deck fucked me. And we'll talk about why. So we end up playing fortified. Let's see. Yeah, fortified. I wrote clear, but we were definitely playing fortified. So I'm going to change that in my notes because that mattered. So yeah, we played major, KP, and fortified. And he was playing Anakin Pikes.
My man.
With Padme, so not your man.
Oh, all right, you disowned.
And I don't want to sound salty, but I'm going to sound salty here.
Salty.
I was so mad at his defensive. Like, so first off, clone defensive tech over, right? Like all my shots went to cover because we were playing on fucking fortified. So that like every shot I gave him 2 extra saves, which was in retrospect, I needed to play my deck every single game. But that's scary when you're playing Palpatine.
That's something I wanted to say to you. It sounds like the games that you didn't play blue player, you lost.
You're right. Actually, in retrospect, the games I played
And
red player, I lost.
This is why I want you to hope you take this away from this, because you're really all about being red player, but I feel like you could shine more in blue player.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Another side note. You tailor your deck so you can win.
Yes.
Why would you give them the advantage? Just take your deck, dude.
Because
regardless of table.
Yeah. It's just an probably irrational fear of Palpatine getting shot and killed. That's why. Like I put too much of an emphasis on that, I think. But besides that, and we can go to my faults more generally later. But yeah, so I end up shooting 120 dice, over 120 dice into him over like 3 turns before he like kills anything big, right? With 120 dice, he takes 3 wounds.
Clones are gonna clone.
That's not just clones. That is rolling 9 saves and rolling 9 multiple times. Like not 9, but like 6 saves. Oh, they're all in. 5 hits, 2 surges. And I'm like, I don't know what I can do to this. It was to the point to where at the end of the game, I'm like, I know this is a dice game, but like, and I know that averages don't exist during the game, but I'm like, every single save he was saving, and we're talking over the entire game. We're talking over like 80 defense dice rolled, and like 3 things are dead. It's just like I can't do anything against that. That's just dice. And I didn't win. I didn't lose because of dice, mind you. I lost because he started getting really good fire sports into me, and he started shooting at my darks, and my dice were not rolling like that. I rolled.
Anakin saber throw fire supports at all?
Nope, no Anakin saber throws. Just rocket launchers. He got just rocket launcher. No, because it was just he didn't even have saber throw. I don't think. Like I didn't take any shots where I'm like I took a shot from a rocket launcher squad that should have been dead because it's like all right, like 6 hits go in. There's like 3 guys left, or like 7. Like it's like, and then they save 6, and it's like, okay, well, what am I gonna do? I was actually like the most tilted I've like been playing this game because there's like I'll lose and like I'll be mad sometimes, but like not like that. I did my fucking best. Like I've gotten way better about being okay with losing. Like when I first started playing the game, I was a really sore loser. Like I know that. JR can confirm, by the way. And I've tried my fucking damnedest to get way better at it. And by worlds, I've gotten significantly better at it. But that game, I was just like, I was just pissed. Like not as pissed as the guy I'm gonna talk about for the Swiss, by the way, who was so mad or skirmish. I think he just like literally walked away and just that was the skirmish. But yeah, I was just like, there's nothing I could have done that game that would have made it better. And again, in retrospect, fortified positions helped him a lot, helped him out a lot. It didn't win him the game. It was just like I couldn't get any wounds through. And
Okay,
that's
so-
why, and that one more thing. And I think that's why a lot of people have been playing lists and playing objectives and just playing the game in such a ways where you don't roll dice. Because the more dice you don't have to roll, the better chance you have at winning. And I knew that going into Worlds, but I consciously made an effort to not play that way because I didn't want to play that way. You know what I mean? And so it kind of feels like I just fucked up and I should have just bought. I should have played EXD is what I should have done. But other than that, I should have just played like that. So, but anyways, what are you to say?
This is the game where like his dice were just so good, right?
Yeah.
And the point where he just kind of like told us that he didn't want to share dice.
Oh yeah, no, he did. So yeah, so he did not want to share dice before the game. I was very much like, hey, we should share dice, and he said, I'm not comfortable sharing dice. So this is the guy where I'm like, I was like, oh, this guy's definitely cheating. Like I'm not
So
going.
and all your games, you asked your opponent to share dice, correct?
None of the games on Thursday I did. I didn't on Thursday because it was more of a casual tournament.
But Friday, Saturday, you asked everybody to share dice.
Well, so I did on that game, and he said no. And then, and again, he said no, and I'm like, sure, fine, whatever. And then his dice started rolling out of like insane amounts, and I'm like, that's where it's like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
And after that, I just started asking, hey, do you want to share dice? And basically, my next two games, I did not take no for an answer.
Did anyone give you a no? Did anyone say no?
Not after I was insistent, no. And I always said, I don't care whose dice we use. I just want to be using the same dice.
See, because that's kind of where I am at. I'm not saying this guy had.
I don't think. Look, he didn't win Worlds. I saw him he didn't even get to day 2, right? He was in that second tournament on the community tournament with me on Saturday. So I don't actually think he was cheating anymore. I don't think I thought he was cheating more than like the 5 minutes after the game when I was just salty out of my mind, right? But it's just the fact that that's even a possibility is what is just like, oh, I don't think, it's like, that's
Put
where
your dice in the toilet now. I'm kidding.
Well, yeah, but it's just like, to me, it's like, just, I don't know how to do that. And it's like, to me, it's like, just share dice.
Just take a cup of water next time and put it on the table, like your dice, drop 5 in there.
Because that's my thing.
Wrong.
Like, I at LVO, I had all the clear dice that I won from the LVO last year.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my opponents weren't comfortable with that, especially the stream ones because they're see-through when you're
right.
And like that's my advice is like if someone asks you to share dice because you're both rolling the same dice. Like I love my game against Nathan Gribble. Like we shared dice because the stream and mine were clear. He was rolling everything. Everything was on point for him. But when I was rolling his dice, it was all blank. So it's like that was one of the things that made me feel comfortable. It's just like, okay, we can't. Obviously, he didn't weight his dice, and like I don't know how crazy people would get at weighting dice because I think salting dice is just fucking takes forever. But
well, and plus, like, there's no money involved in Legion.
Right?
Like, it's
I don't know how
for
crazy
clout.
people would want to.
So
crazy into the game. Yeah,
it's so again, like in retrospect, I probably shouldn't even. It's just in the moment I was just so salty. It's like 95% of dice saved. I'm just like mad, and it's Worlds, so it matters. If you lose your first round, you're done. There's no day 2. Even if you go 3-1, like you basically have to hope that the person that you lost to also went 4-0. That's your only way is if they went 4-0 and you went 3-1, and the people that you beat that went 3-1 also won all of their other games.
Yeah.
Like it's just like the stars have to align in a perfect manner for you to get to day 2 if you lose your first game. And so, the next game I played was against, what's it called? Oh, Tempest Force with two ATSTs and 3 speeders. And we played his deck because again, I needed to hide. And I actually won this game. And I kind of think I won this game because we were playing his deck. So we played, and you guys are gonna. I am ready for the roast. Just remember, I won this game, and I will explain why I chose this at the end when I'm talking about the game. So the second game, we end up playing. Were we Battle Lines, And then when you see that enemy list, what do you think is the worst possible objective I could choose? Because I chose it. Tempest Force, 2 ATSTs, 3 speeders. What did I choose against that? On battle lines and war.
Bombing
Breakthrough.
run. Bombing run.
I played bombing run, baby. And so I'm gonna explain it now. So remember that first game I played on Thursday where the guy split his army?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I knew this guy was gonna send his speeders to one side of the map. And if I sent my guys to the other side of the map, I wouldn't have to fight 3 speeders. I also knew I can pretty easily guarantee I get 3 bombs through. So we played bombing run where my objective was to kill his ATSDs before they killed me. It went rough. This is one of those games where I'm like, we were sharing dice, and I'm like, I'm glad we were, because I was rolling some shit that was like insane. He was rolling some stuff that was really good, but it was like,
Not
oh
good
man,
enough.
no, not good enough. And it was just like he's shooting into my darks and they're saving crazy, and it's just like I shouldn't win against that list, to be clear. Like it was an insane, like, number one, if the speeders had been attacking like from round 1, the darks would have died. Right? Because that's impact 6 plus like impact 12 from the 2 ATSTs if they start shooting at the darks round 1, right? It's a lot of impact to deal with. And so I just crumble, right? Because I don't have a lot of minis on the field. They just kill me. But what does end up happening is that his speeders are on all the way on the left side of the board. My darks are all the way on the right side of the board. And his ATSTs are on the right side of the board. His bullshit that doesn't matter is in places that don't matter. Well, they do, because he kind of baits me into shooting his scouts once, which puts me in a less good position, but it ended up in my favor, and I was kind of taking a risk. But it was a slow attrition game. I have some good rolls against Marquardt, and he dies. And then I like doing a Now You Will Die on his second ATST with Palpatine. He doesn't shoot Palpatine at all for the rest of that turn, even though he could have with at least. I thought his ATST went after Palpatine, but he said it went before. I'm pretty sure the ATST was after, and it shot darks. But he definitely had 2 speeder shots he could have taken into Palp, but he didn't. So Palpatine got another shot that next round. And so that second ATST died, and then he just called it. I think he still could have probably killed enough of my stuff that it would have been okay. Like, he could have still probably pulled it out, but he was just done once I killed the second ATST. And so yeah, that was an amazing game. It was a lot of fun. And it was just like David. It was just, to me, it felt like David versus Goliath, because that is not a matchup I should win. There's just so much impact, and I don't have enough. He did a really good job kiting me with his ATSTs to start. Like, Marquardt did a range 3 shot and then moved backwards, which meant I couldn't really get good shots back. Like the range 2 shots, which I wanted to do. So that was good for him. Second, like, I had a piece of LOS blocking that could hide my dark troopers so it forced him to move his second ATST forward a bit, which helped me a lot. But yeah, that was another Mando map, by the way. So that's my that was my third. No, that was my second Mando map of the 2 tournaments. My next game was also on a Mando map, and that was against Blizzard Force with Commander Vader. Against somebody that I don't know if they won the LCQ or just got their invite off of the LCQ. I think they just got their invite off the LCQ. And what we played doesn't even matter, because what happens is, well, I guess I'll say. So we played hemmed in KP clear conditions. So maybe it does matter.
Ooh.
And he puts Vader in a spot where I can shoot him on round 1. So what do you guys think I did on round 1?
Shoot
I
him.
shot at
Goodbye,
Vader.
Vader.
Yeah, bye-bye.
And I shot at Vader.
No dodges, no nothing, just naked Vader.
So naked Vader. So I shoot him once.
Kill him
Take some
now.
wounds. Shoot him again. He takes some wounds. He then activates Vader, and he starts going, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? He says, okay, do I try to do a double speed 3 into melee? And it doesn't work. So he's like, can't do that. And what he finally ends up deciding to do is he has a force reflex dodge. He moves slower with a move 1, and he tries to hide behind LOS, but doesn't. And so I take 3 more shots into Vader, and Vader disappears. And then he starts pushing up his speeders. I think I actually took 4 shots to kill Vader, so I had a 5th shot into the speeders. And so some speeders start dying. All the speeders are up in my face now. Round 2, and Now You Will Die, and the speeders die. And what else is there in Blizzard Force, right? So it's just like sweep. It was so I felt bad for the guy almost. But I'm like, I'm sorry, man, but you put Vader out in the open, I'm gonna shoot him, right? Like if
Did
you
he
had
tell you why he did that?
Did he think he had
he did.
cover?
No, I don't know why he did it. He basically said that he didn't think he was gonna make it to day 2, like or to day 1 of Worlds, basically. And so he was just kind of playing to play. But he did end up dropping after that, so I kind of feel bad for that too. Um, but yeah, game 4 is another Mando map, and this time it's against EXD. We're now like an hour in, so I'm not gonna go over all the games for the next tournament. I'm just gonna do the last world game probably, and then
I think we're
some
longer than
highlights.
an hour in.
Yeah, we're way longer than an hour. So,
It's all right.
but anyway, so game 4 is against EXD, and we both are best kind of like. I'm kind of like I'm not making it to the next day. Let's just kind of play to play because I see XD on the other side. I'm like, this is not gonna be a fun game, right? He's just gonna kite, and I'm like, let's just play. And so he's like, yeah, we're just gonna play, and and so basically, we end up playing Intercept again. I don't know if I'm gonna play Intercept against EXT ever again because they just can do some bullshit. But anyway, so I play Intercepts. Let's see. Oh, Major and Rapid. So
Why?
I put Rapid in there as bait, but he's played against enough double Dark Trooper Palpatine because apparently there's a double Dark Trooper Palpatine Spanish guy that plays who I met. He's a cool guy, and I'm like, fuck. Okay, so this guy called the bluff. He ends up using it to rapid 2 of his B2s.
How
And
many did you
so
rapid?
I didn't rapid any Dark Troopers. I rapided a single Storm Squad. You
Really?
don't rapid the Darks because then they get out of your Palpatine bubble. And so in retrospect, maybe I could have done one, but the problem is you need them together because the only way that they work is if they are pushing as a unit and basically forcing the enemy to start running away or to commit to pushing. You know what I mean? And if they commit to pushing, then you blow them up. Right. And so I need them together. And so this is another sort of super long game. I do a really good job hiding my storms for most of the game behind an LS blocker so he can like see one, but not the rest of the squad. So he's like sending BX shots to kill a single stormtrooper for a while, which attrition is good for him, but I'm okay with this because they're not killing darks. He sends a B2 squad to come in to try to take my intercept. I basically push it off. I kill it eventually. I do a lot of damage. So he has 3 BXs. I kill one of them. Then I start pushing the left side of the map with my second dark because on the left side is just a T series and a B2. And that's where I end up rapiding my storm. So like one dark starts ignoring what I just said, which is that you want to stay by Palpatine and just kind of stays at like range 3 of Palpatine, starts pushing towards that other intercept to kind of force him to do something. I don't do that play well enough, frankly. I'm not, it's like it in my head it worked, but I fucked it up. Like round 4, I should have pushed the center and held the center, and I don't. So like round 4, I don't score the left, I don't score the center, and I score mine. And so I'm like now behind. And round 6, he just has so many guys that he just scores the center and his side still. Because I'm not able to kill, like I kill his T series, but he has a B2 that lives with one guy left because he had it hidden behind these fucking LS blockers that were just insane. Like these mana maps, like I said, it doesn't look like there's any LS. And then you check and it's like, oh, full LS. Awesome. And so it just, yeah, and he plays very well. It was a very close game. If I had killed like another B2, if I had done a couple things slightly differently, I think I could have pulled it. I couldn't push his BXs crucially. I think this is really important for anyone that's thinking of playing experimental. I couldn't push his experimental draw or his BXs because they had impact grenades. So if they get shots off, so if I go to range 2, exactly range 2, he does a speed 3 move, impact grenades with Pierce, I'm dead, right? And so he's kind of forcing me back really well. And so he ends up winning barely, ends up 2-2, or I end up 2-2 at the end of the day, and I'm happy, right? So I could have done way better. I could have done way worse. You know what I mean? There are better players than me that did worse. So after that, what did we do that night? Oh, that was and so after that, that was karaoke night. So First up, I met with Jordan, and we got some Giordano's, which is some fantastic Chicago deep dish pizza. So we had pizza, we had some beer, then we went to like a bar nearby. And then after that, I went to karaoke with the Brits, hosted by That's No Moon and hosted by Ollie, who actually made it today too. Or no, that was on Saturday night. I'm mixing up nights. It's all a blur because
It
oh
was
my
a drunk
god,
blur.
it's all a drunk blur. Maybe I did do B Dubs on. No, B Dubs had to have been Thursday because that's when it's the wings and Worlds started on. Was the first day of Worlds Thursday or? Oh man,
You need to lighten up on the beer, sir.
it's too late, dude. It keep in mind we're for those that don't know, we record these pretty late, and I am 2 hours ahead right now because I'm still in Chicago time, so it's like super late for me right now.
Let's go ahead. Go ahead,
No, I'm
please.
just trying to remember what the heck happened, which night.
Well, on that note, while you're trying to remember, let's talk about some of the controversies that happened at
Yeah. We might want to just split my stuff up into next week, but how about
Yeah,
I
no,
just
we can do
how about I
that.
just finish and say no. How about I just finish my stuff and then we can start talking controversies, right? Because I just want to basically one of the other nights I go out to karaoke with the Brits, have an absolute blast, start talking some potential um let's say shenanigans that may be arising in a California near you. So if you're a local, just keep your ear out for something interesting and fun that might be coming out that I got from talking to some of the other Californians at Worlds. My karaoke song for the record, I wanted to play something from The Offspring, but I ended up they didn't have anything. So I sang Ain't No Rest for the Wicked by KG Elephant as my karaoke song, which is one of my personal favorites.
You didn't do the
Um,
British national anthem? That sounded like it was more in your range.
Shut up, man. um, the last song we all sang at the end of the night was We Are the World, which is like the Haiti song.
Oh shit.
And there were also there by that point I wasn't even necessarily on like hoping Ollie was gonna win. At that point, I was kind of rooting for there's an Aussie named I forgot his name. It's Steve. I hope it's like Steve or something. He was playing Double Dark's Krennic. I wanted him to win because I wanted the Empire to win, right? And he made it to day 2. So yeah, so this was after that because he was going to the next day. I don't know. It's all a blur. Um, but yeah, so maybe this was the wrong. Anyway, so we all sang that for a time. Next day, community tournament, that was great. But yeah, let's just start talking controversies, and then if I want to talk more about my stuff, I remember more. We'll finish this because we're like an hour and a half in at this point, and I am my brain is fried. So what do we got?
Controversy and
Controversy.
releases for Rob. Let's go.
Okay.
Hold on.
Oh, it's more me questions.
Yeah,
Fuck.
no, hold on.
You didn't listen to our last episode. We got it all on the air. We need your
Oh,
hot
okay.
take. But go, Jer.
No, I'm just gonna say we could talk about that.
Uh-oh. What are you thinking?
But yeah, that's what I was thinking right there. And so like we could do that to make it 2, right? But
Why don't? Yeah,
wanna do that?
I think we should just call it here, and we can record for next week with my thoughts on the controversies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think this is a good length amount of time. You know, we
Oh
got
yeah,
your
this
experience
is.
and everything. To be honest, man, I'm glad you went. I'm glad you had
Oh,
fun. You
I had
know?
so much fun. I just wish I could remember the nights. Like,
You know, maybe that's why you didn't win Worlds. Why you let us down? Is
yeah.
drinking too much.
Well, there was definitely a lot of drinking going
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Trading our trade secrets to the enemy. What are you doing? That's just kidding.
No, I mean,
But
yeah.
all right, guys. Well, Rob sounded like he had a lot of fun. I'm jealous, man. I wish I could have went with you.
Yeah, so I'll do a little bit more talk about my experience at Worlds next week, and we'll also talk about my thoughts on the controversies and stuff. So
Okay.
All right, we got plenty to talk about for months apparently. So
yeah, seriously. So all right. Anything you gonna add, Jose?
Nah, man. That's Rob had a blast. That's what's important, man. The
I
fact
do
that
have
you
I
got
You
it.
know what's important is that me and Rob got invites. We need you to get an invite for next year,
well,
so
so
we all
actually,
can go.
yeah, I was gonna say I think my biggest takeaway from Worlds is that we need to go next year. Like, not me, we need to go because there is a ton of stuff happening in the game and out of the game. Community is a ton of fun. It's awesome. I met a ton of cool people, and it's just I think even if you end up next year, like, oh, I'm not really so sure if I really like Legion. It's like it's just still a blast,
Mhm.
right? Even if the game isn't all your tea at that moment, it is
No, I
super
like
fun. There's a
events.
ton of
I like
stuff
the
to
event.
do. Yeah, and it's worth going to. So somebody needs to win one of these big events so we can get a free ticket and or a free hotel room. That's what needs to happen. So I think you need to win LVO, or I need to win TSG again, or something. So
To win OVO, I got to go through JR. That's not happening. No, definitely. I know I've been down on Legion for a little bit, but I actually was telling JR I'm working on something a little bit spicy right now. I'm gonna try focusing on Shadow Collective because the only faction I own that I haven't played. So that's actually making Legion a little bit more fun in that aspect and it speeds the game up because there's no what do I put my orders on it. I pull from the bag and hope I don't fuck myself.
yeah.
So I'm working on that. So, but I do want to do more events. I gotta take it a little more seriously. Not practicing for LVO and then just going in and just saying fuck it. Good. It's good when you're running
You
a list
also need to, listen to our advice, win the game.
I'm never gonna let that down. The one time I'm nice. All right. Anyways, that
No,
won't happen.
no nice.
Um,
It's nice to be
but no,
polite, but
Yeah, be
I'm
polite,
gonna
not nice. I like that.
I'm gonna be on the Shadow Collective kick until Bad Batch drops, and then I'll go from there.
Nice. Yeah, I will say, like, just as a heads up, in the next week, and for those of you that are still here by the end, you're the guys that are actually going to do this anyways, hopefully. But within the next week, we're going to have signups for the first Legion Lads Star Wars Legion League or season. So just keep an eye out for that. It's all ready to go. We're just basically waiting to publish this podcast, and then we'll have some signups.
Yeah.
So sign up. If you're even if you don't live in Fresno, if you are local enough to drive to play against somebody in Fresno, you can sign up and we will figure it out. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you, Rob, for telling us your experience at World. Sounds like a blast. I'm excited to
Yeah.
hear what you have to say about the releases and the controversy that happened.
Wait, one more thing. Did you get any compliments on the jersey? Because I think the jersey is the coolest part, aside from you being at the event, where people are like,
Did it
"Oh,
like
shit."
specifically for the jersey?
Well, we got a lot of compliments at LVO off of the
So
lad.
I mean there were a lot of people with jerseys there, man. Like it wasn't like unique. Like at LVO, it was kind of like not a lot of jerseys. Like Team UK all had jerseys. The Florida guys had
Simpson
jerseys.
themed jerseys.
Colorado had jerseys. Like everyone had
What Rob
jerseys.
is saying is that we
We
need to
need.
go as a group, so you need to step up your game.
Thank
Jose.
you.
That's what it is.
We need a
Okay?
group. I like that.
Okay, yeah.
We need to pass out more stickers too. I passed
There
out
you
like
go.
over 40 stickers, I think.
Oh my
so.
God. Well, anyway.
Yeah, by the way, I ended up giving Nathan Gribble 2 stickers, one for beating me and one for beating you. So
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, hell of a player. I can't wait to play him next year. That's gonna be awesome.
okay.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for the listening that stayed for this that long, and we'll see you guys next time.
I'll see you next time.
Later.